Welcome to the 27th episode of Unscripted Company. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a wild topic. If me wearing the sunglasses shades didn't give it away, we have a fun little conspiratorial topic for you today. But first, Riley, how's it going? I know we just had a conversation before we hit record, but how's it going?
It's going, man. Life is, just life right now. Like I said, work has been kind of slow, but we've just been working on a lot of changes for everything coming up in the real estate market. And, we've kind of I've just been slow. I've been working behind the scenes and slowly grinding. I don't put a lot of stuff on social media anymore, which I probably should, but I've just been working a lot behind the scenes and, it's just been a slow, steady grind, but life is good. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. So
That's half the battle, isn't it?
indeed. What about you?
Yeah, been all right. Can't really complain. I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, but about 2 weeks back, bought a Jeep. So I have a 4-door
You
Jeep
did
Wrangler.
say that, yeah.
It is orange. So I got a bumper sticker that's on the back window, and it says "Drink Orange Crush," and it's a vintage soda logo of that.
Nice.
But it's Orange Crush colored, and so we call it Crush. So that's been fun. I had to sell my truck I had in order to get it. It was a good 2018 Nissan Frontier. Everything mechanically was great about it. I forget if I vented about this on the podcast yet, but
I think you did. But go ahead and enlighten the public.
yeah, man. Apparently, there's been a bunch of class action lawsuits since this news came out. But when I bought this truck, this 2018 Nissan Frontier, this information wasn't relatively known quite yet. But apparently, the undercoat and the primer that they used on these automobiles that Nissan produced was just absolute crap. And so paint started to peel off of this truck. Like even while hand washing it with a soft sponge, paint would just start to peel off. And so, of course, pricing out what a paint job would cost versus, is it even worth it? Mechanically, everything was fine with it. I really, truly enjoyed the truck. Wouldn't have sold it if it wasn't for the paint issue. But I've always wanted a Jeep Wrangler at the same time. My wife, Abby, loves Jeep Wranglers. It's like her dream vehicle. So it's kind of a win-win in a sense. But, the only part that hurts was I got so close to actually paying off the truck. I was so close to fully paying it off.
Now you have a whole other vehicle note.
Yeah, basically. But the good thing was I had a good chunk of positive equity with the truck to lob into the Jeep. So the Jeep definitely could have been way more expensive on paper than what I actually ended up getting a note for it. So kind of a blessing in disguise there. But yes, I went from having little to no car payment to welcome back to reality. I'm paying the same each month, honestly, but it's the overall number you're trying to chip away at.
All right. Yeah, see, I am going to do everything in my power to never have another car payment ever again. If I have to trade in my vehicle, I'll trade it in, but I'm hoping that I'll have cash by then because I know for a fact that with rates right now, we would not be able to afford a car payment. So it's like if anything, if I have to get any work done on my car, even if it's $1,000 and it needs to be done, I'm paying it. I'm getting it done because I got to, I got to have my car to drive around and make money. But, when I do get ready to upgrade, and I'll probably buy one, maybe two more vehicles throughout my life. I'm going to just stick with Toyota. I'm going to go from a Ford to a Toyota brand. Even if it's not a truck, I've really been digging the new body style Toyota Camrys. I do like those, but obviously the overall goal is to eventually hopefully get a truck or something, but if I have to settle for another car, Toyota Camrys are a nice affordable car. And even if I do have a car payment, I'm going to at least put 50% or more down on the car to avoid having such a huge monthly payment,
Smart man right there. I see you one day having a Toyota Tundra. Is that what the goal is?
I want one so bad, but the gas on those suckers, man, that's if I'm selling 3 houses a month, by all means, like give me a Toyota Tundra because I can afford that gas. But if I'm like one, maybe 2 houses, depending on the pricing of the homes, like a Toyota Tacoma, I'd be happy with. Like I don't need a large truck. Like that's the thing. Like I don't need a super large truck. A Toyota Tacoma would be fine. It has plenty of space for me. But if I had to go a different route, it would either be a Rav4 or a 4Runner. Like, one of those two.
Yeah, I think a Forerunner would be fun too. Those are more expensive than I realized because I was just, when I knew I was going to get rid of the truck, and I was pretty certain I was going to get a Wrangler, but just window shopping, other brands, other models, seeing what was out there.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at some Forerunners and I was like, ooh, that's a pretty penny, man. And so I stopped looking at those right away because if I'm going to get something that's like a 4-wheel drive that's not a truck, it'd be a Jeep. But Forerunner seemed interesting. I think in another world, if I had infinite cash, Forerunner would be fun to have.
They're expensive up front, but they're so cheap to get the work done on them. That's why dealerships and mechanic shops don't like them, because the parts are so cheap. So it's like they're actually like, you save a lot of money like on the work that needs to be done to them. But I told myself like I'm not going to go to a dealership though. Like I'm going like Cars.com, CarMax, or Carvana. Like one of those three.
I got mine through Carvana, and that's why I bought the truck too. I've heard
Yeah.
horror stories from people who have used Carvana, and I totally get it. You are basically buying a car sight unseen in a sense. However, they give you a lot of tools like a 360 mapping of the vehicle. They show you the imperfections, and
Right.
I've had 2 good experiences so far with them, but it's a new world where you can buy a vehicle online and have it delivered to your front door, not even have to talk to a dealer. Like out of all the vehicles I've ever had, I haven't really had to talk to a dealership in the sense of going there, talking with a salesperson. I'm a child of the internet. I use e-commerce to buy 2 vehicles.
Right. Yeah, no, I think I think I'm not saying car dealerships are not essential, but here's the thing though. Car prices need to come down. Like I get car salesmen have like they only make a set amount, on the vehicles and everything, but it's like, come on now, like they got to drop the prices of some of these, man. Like you're talking about like, oh, we're having production issues. Well, I mean, you're not really having production issues because I see car dealerships that are full of vehicles. And so I'm like, I don't know, but I think pricing needs to come down on those. But I see apparently a lot of people. There's a percentage out there. I think it's like 90% of all the cars you see on the road now are all lease, like they're all leased vehicles.
That's something that blew my mind when I first started to realize that years back was just because you see these nice cars driving around, most of the people, they don't own them. They're either leasing them or they have some ridiculous car note that they probably can't afford, and so they're going to have to ditch the vehicle at some point. Once that really started to click with me, I'm like, okay, these people are just living a lie. They're living a lie, and don't feel bad about yourself because you're driving anything lesser than that. If anything, at least you own your vehicle or on a pathway to owning your vehicle, and you're not leasing a vehicle that, like, why would you ever want to lease a vehicle? I'm sure someone can give me a valid explanation, but the way I view it, I don't ever see a need to lease a vehicle.
Yeah, I don't either. Like you're paying $300 to $400 a month. The insurance is almost just as high as that because you're leasing it. You don't own the vehicle, so they charge you a higher rate. So you're paying like probably in some cases almost $1,000 a month. And let's be honest here, most people don't even make like, usually what a lot of people say is like, if you're going to have a car payment, it's like have it be like a certain percentage of your monthly income. But if most people make anywhere from like $2,500 to $3,000 a month, like that's a third of your take home pay, not to include your rent that you probably pay a pretty penny for, depending on where you stay. So I don't know. That's just me. Car payments, if you can get away with it, it is what it is. But yeah.
Yeah. So we're about to dive into something very conspiratorial, hollow earth theory. We're going to lay it all out there. We're going to go down all the rabbit holes. Dare I say, we'll find ourselves in the middle of the hollow earth once we find the entry point. But first, I want to give people that are listening context as to why are we even going to talk about hollow earth? Because last week in episode 26, because this is episode 27, some wild news happened in Texas that you actually brought up at the very tail end of the overall podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how big of a deal it was when we were first recording, because you had brought up that there was like a 5.1 or 5.3 magnitude earthquake just outside of Snyder, Texas, which for those of you not familiar, that's out in West Texas. I forget the exact area. It's by Abilene, right?
It's like 20 to 30 minutes from Abilene, like west of
Yeah.
Abilene.
It's like getting out towards West Texas. And while yes, that's a big deal that there was a 5+ magnitude earthquake, one thing that I realized when I was looking into it, because I was posting like YouTube shorts and writing the description for our video, I did not realize that West Texas got hit with over 100 earthquakes that week.
Wow. Well, see, I told you though, like as we were kind of like looking through it, I was like, yeah, this earthquake happened this day, this day, this day, and they were all like within like a set time period. But I didn't realize that there were 103 of them.
And they all happened like in the same county. So they happened in Scurry County, which is where Snyder is located. Here's a good map actually for us. So we can see where Abilene, Midland, Odessa, off of I-20 over here. But yeah, they got hit with, I don't even know if this was the final count, because when I first looked this up, it said 90. And I was like, whoa, 90. And then I remember the day later, it said 100. And I was like, whoa, okay. So the number keeps climbing. And then tonight, when I was getting an article pulled up for this example, I see it's 103. And this is from July 29th, and it's currently August 4th. So who knows? Maybe it's more than that. But they had to declare a state of emergency because there's over 100 earthquakes in a county in West Texas. That's crazy. This article here, let's get this pop out of the way. It says, this is from USA Today. So many earthquakes have struck the West Texas county of Scurry in the past week, more than 100 at last count. Local officials have declared a state of emergency. Scurry County Judge Dan Hicks wrote in his Friday declaration of disaster that since the first earthquake, registering magnitude 4.9, was felt the night of July 22nd, quote, damage has been found throughout Scurry County in businesses and residences, end quote. The county's buildings can handle a few quakes here and there, but the cumulative effects of so many small ones, punctuated by larger shaking, have become cause for concern. And then it goes on just to talk more about anecdotal evidence of those that are on the ground, things like that. I bring that up, though, not just for the shock factor of like, we got to be concerned with this. First of all, I'm sitting here thinking, should I drop everything I'm doing professionally and go into the earthquake infrastructure reinforcement industry, I guess, out in Texas, in West Texas? Like, should I drop everything and start create a company where I go in, I reinforce foundations and pier and beam structures to help ensure that they can survive earthquakes? Because that's a concern out in West Texas now. I'm sure it's coming to a town near you. But I also bring this up because I had made a loose joke whenever you had brought up the Snyder, Texas story about why is this happening? Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of rational explanations. Tectonic plate shifting, hydraulic fracturing, drilling for oil, and breaking up the bedrock. I like to think that it's the mole people warning us about what we're doing above ground. Now, I say that very loosely. I don't think the mole people actually exist, but it's a good analogy to use for, is there something below us? That's the question. Mm-hmm. So, Riley, I'm going to put you on the spot here, and we'll dive into the specifics. Do you think the Earth is hollow?
So, this is like with a couple of caveats. So, when it comes to the Earth possibly being hollow, so like think about it on a scale of like, okay, so you have volcanoes on the surface of the planet. You know, you have lava that obviously operates, magma that operates underground and, you know, makes its way through all those different channels. Like, you know, in some shape or fashion, majority of them are connected.
Yeah, you have like the Ring of Fire. It's like the Pacific Rim that goes all the way around, and it's
right.
Yeah.
And but I don't think that the volcano, like the magma like tubes and all, I don't think that goes as far down as what people think. You know, like I think that there is a stopping point because, like, I know that obviously growing up, you know, your fifth grade science class, like they would teach you that you have your crust, you have your mantle, you have your core, and your outer core and your inner core. But if the entire we physically can't actually get past the crust. Like, I don't think anyone's actually ever drilled and made it past the crust.
I think you're right in that. I remember, and I'll pull up a number while you continue talking, but I remember that there is like the deepest hole that's been dug, and it really only is, in the grand scheme of things, we've basically just like dug up one speck of dirt.
Right. And so, to me, I you have to think, like, if the earth was full of magma and lava, like if it absolutely was, and I'm not saying, like, this all plays a hand in hand with like the magnetic fields that are around our planet that go hand in hand with what's inside our planet, but our planet should be a lot hotter, I feel. And this could just be me sounding very ignorant. And if I am, well, this is Unscripted Company. So we're all about sounding smart in some cases and sounding completely dumb in other cases. But this is what we're about. But it's kind of hard to believe that if our planet is full of molten hot magma, it that our planet's not hotter, like off the surface of it. Like, I don't foresee the fact that, if that being the case, like, I'm hoping I'm making sense right now, but like, with the magnetic waves and the magnetic fields that go around our planet, there's like an inner magnetic field and there's an outer magnetic field. Like, everything that we have on our planet has some sort of magnetic field around it, because, or almost everything, because of how the solar flare stuff plays out, things like that. So to me, like, there has to be an inverse pull and an outverse pull. So it's like, to me, that would signify that there probably is, the whole entire Earth may not be hollow, but there may be aspects of the Earth that are actually hollow that we haven't been able to get to because we can't drill past the crust.
That makes sense. I think that actually makes a lot of rational sense, that some people can assume that hollow earth theory means that the entire center, what we think of as what the mantle and the core, would be like a hollowed out ball in a sense, where there could be scenarios where you have cave systems, for lack of a better term, that span pockets of the inner earth per se. Now, what I did, I pulled it up on the screen here. I found, at least what I believe, based on Wikipedia telling me this, the deepest man-made dug hole ever is the Kola Super Deep Borehole. This is located, it's in Russia. Yeah, in Russia. And for context here, so it's 12.3 kilometers deep. And in comparison, the Mariana Trench is 10.9 kilometers deep. So it's kind of weird in a sense of, the deepest hole we've ever dug is really only a tad bit deeper than the Mariana Trench. Now, I know we can't really go down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench and then operate this massive drill from there, but it almost begs the question of, like, shouldn't we have just started in the Mariana Trench and then dug the same size hole or length down there as well? So nothing really of note there, I guess, other than just knowing this is the deepest we've dug, and it basically it's just the height of the Mariana Trench. So nothing mind-blowing there to be reported.
So this is kind of what and I'm going to show y'all a couple pictures from a movie, and I don't know if anyone has seen the most recent one yet, but I have. And this is kind of what I picture in certain cases, what I feel like hollow earth actually is, or like inner earth, so to speak. So if any of you have ever seen Godzilla versus Kong, so we may end up going somewhere with this later on. I obviously, we don't plan this out, but when you kind of look at some of these photos, like, just for this one, for example, as you can see, like, there's like a gravitational pull, so like a magnetic field that, allows things to float within that area. So I'm not saying like the entire Earth, like what my co-host here said, is it's not just like a giant gaping abyss in the middle of nothing, but it's like you have areas where it's like you may have like kind of like a plane, and then it's like a bubble that may be inside our planet, that this is what this is. Now, in this movie in particular, they have portals that actually connect. It's a gateway that actually connects. It's not like you could just like take a submarine and go underwater, and then next thing you know, you come out on this other side where this cave is at, and it takes you into this whole big old area. It's not necessarily that. Just a couple other ones to kind of just to kind of show, as far as like what we were talking about with like the open-ended things. So you obviously have a volcano there, you have storms, like it's got its own ecosystem all in its own. Now, just to kind of for clarification, how I was explaining as far as like there being like that pocket, so to speak, and there being lava all surrounding it. Spoiler alert, this is from the most recent movie. I'm not going to actually tell you what it is, but in this particular case, you actually have areas where people are actually like where you have animals like the apes that are actually living in, but there's still magma and lava under that. So it's
I did learn about this, so this may be a spoiler. I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen the last couple of movies in this franchise, but for those of you listening or watching, and Riley, correct me if I'm wrong in this. The theory here is that Godzilla and King Kong, they're what they refer to as Titans, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is that in this franchise, Hollow Earth theory is true. Mm-hmm. And so these Titans live within the inner Earth. I don't know how they escape. You don't have to explain that part if it's a spoiler, but apparently they hop out from time to time and they say hello. But the whole idea is these Titans, so Mothra, Kong, I don't know, is Godzilla 2000 in this franchise yet?
So I don't, it's not really a spoiler. So I'll just to kind of preface real quick. So if you have HBO, I highly recommend, like all of them are on HBO, even the newest one. And so we watched it literally last Sunday. I was like, hey, this is on here. Let's just watch this. So, but how it works is so Godzilla's domain is actually Earth. Like he stays on the Earth. Like that's his domain. He's like the unofficial protector of the human race, So it's like there are other Titans on the planet, but they're just all hidden. And some of them may come out of Hollow Earth. Some of them or Inner Earth is what they call it. And then some of them are just buried deep underground. Like they eventually come out of the ground, But Kong, his domain is Inner Earth. Like that's his domain. And so he, like, if one of them comes into the other one's domain, then that's where they're like, oh, like, you're not supposed to be here. I'm going to fight you kind of thing, because Godzilla is where he's supposed to be. Kong is where he's supposed to be. So that's kind of how, like, the preface of that is. Now, as far as there being the Titans, like I said, there are other Titan variations. Now, I'm not saying that if we have a Hollow Earth, like if we actually have pockets of land like this inside our planet, I'm not saying we have giant apes or giant reptilian lizards that can like shoot a beam out of their mouth. Like we would have already seen, I feel like we would have already had to have seen something from that, like unless we're just not in that time period and they're just kind of just having their good old time down there. But that's kind of like when I think of Hollow Earth or Inner Earth, this is what I think about. Like I don't think about it being just like okay, just another movie that if those of you who have not seen this movie, it is I totally
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Journey to the Center of the Earth. This
Fun fact
movie,
for you. So Jules Verne, who wrote the book Journey to the Center of the Earth, way back in, I think it was like the 19th century. Might have been early, maybe late 18th century.
Right?
No, 19th century. That concept, he introduced that in science fiction to the mainstream. So before that, there had been some folks. You had John Cleves Sims, who theorized what he called Sims holes, which is named after him, that there are these pockets leading to Inner Earth. But Jules Verne, through his book, Journey to the Center of the Earth, actually, brought this idea to the mainstream. And I remember, I have really fond memories. Shout out to Papa Monroe out there, because he had the original one. I forget when the movie came out. I want to say in the 50s. Might have been early 60s.
Yeah.
I think it was Technicolor, so maybe late 50s. I enjoyed watching it. There's dinosaurs in the middle of the earth. Who would have thunk it? Dinosaurs.
Yeah, and that's kind of how the same preface here is. I'll be honest, I wasn't as big a fan for the second one, and it might just been because like you watch one and it's just like it feels like, okay, like what's the difference? Like how can they be any different? I mean, I've watched it, but to me, it just didn't do it justice. But again, similar concept. It's like you have a whole ecosystem that exists in our planet that we just haven't found the way to get to yet, or it, like I said, it may or may not exist. But that's kind of what I picture Like when I think about that kind of stuff. So,
What the heck is the sequel about? I wasn't even aware. I haven't seen the first one. Wasn't aware
dude,
there's a sequel, but is it like we're going back, everybody?
that's what I'm saying. So it's like you kind of have like the one. So it's called Journey to the Mysterious Island. So this one's got
The Rock is
um,
in it.
it's got The Rock in it.
The Rock is going to the center of the rock.
I guess, man. This one ends up being kind of more of like a um, she's the
Is that
female
Vanessa
lead.
Hudgenson?
That is Vanessa Hudgenson. Okay, this one right here. So he likes her. He just can't tell her. And so I can't. I'll be honest. I can't even remember how they even get to that part. I know he's some kind of scientist, and
Oh
I don't even.
yes, I'm
I don't
sure
even.
The Rock is the greatest scientist the world has ever
Yeah,
seen.
movies like so. Like again, the first one did it justice, but the second one was just like, why did they even make a second one? Kind of thing. Um,
Money. They wanted money.
True. But to kind of get back to like that initial topic, also, have you seen what's that movie with Will Ferrell in it? They kind of go to this. They take like a he goes to this like area.
Anchorman.
No, not
Talladega
Anchorman.
Nights.
No, but
Blades of Glory.
they essentially go to like a different dimension, but it's almost like another Hollow Earth. Um,
I'm not sure.
I can't think of it. I'll think of it. I'll think of it at some point. But yeah, that's kind of what like when I think of Hollow Earth is what I think about. So
Interesting. Okay. So like you think of there's a theory out there, Agartha, and I think I put it in the show notes where
that
Agartha is
sounds
like a mythical subterranean kingdom said to be inhabited by advanced beings, often mentioned in esoteric and new age circles. But you picture a lot of greenery, there's waterfalls. It's almost like you'd copy and paste what's above, but you put it below.
okay.
Is that what you're envisioning though? Is that it's almost like a version like that? If you were to, I don't know, take the state of Colorado, but then put it below the Earth's surface?
Yeah, like the mountainous areas, like the giant, like the plain, like you have like a mixture of like mountains, but then you have like your water. Like it's kind of like you have like a mixture of different things. So it kind of feels like it's like a tropical island. So okay, have you seen the movie um the like the original King Kong movie? Not the original, not the black and white, but like the one where they go to Skull Island, then they bring him back to New York, and he dies on top of the Eiffel Tower.
Which one is that?
That was one with Jack Black in it.
I don't think I actually ever saw that one. I'm terrible with watching movies,
No
first of
worries.
all, but
Well, anyways, so like they go to Skull Island, but it's kind of like a tropical, feels like island, but it's got mountains, water, like springs and stuff like that. But then you also have like your mixture of like your volcanoes and stuff like that, and then you have like your mystical stuff, like things that you wouldn't find on the surface of planet Earth, but you could only find like rare materials and stuff like that. Like I'm not saying diamonds and stuff like that, but like even rarer than that, like things that we haven't even begun to scrape the surface on. Like we have a lot of different crystals and gemstones and different minerals like that, but this goes beyond that. Like it's a mystical thing all on its own that unless you just happen to stumble upon the entrance to get there, we might not even have a way to get there. And it could
so
be the lizard people.
that begs the question, where is the entrance?
Where's the one place that we can't go?
I was waiting for us to go there. That is actually one of the most fascinating theories, I think. And I know we've talked about Antarctica before, but if we just go a little bit south of us here, or you go north in a sense and find your way going south again, Antarctica, man. Is there something there? I actually found something very interesting doing just very light research for this episode, in that there's like this weird gravitational anomaly in Antarctica. I wasn't even aware of this until like this week. It's very interesting. It's called the Wilkes Land Gravity Anomaly. And so this is how the theory goes. It says about 66 million years ago, at the end of the Cretaceous period, an asteroid called, I'm not going to pronounce that word, but it's pronounced Chicxulub, crashed into what is now Mexico. The asteroid was 10 to 15 kilometers in diameter. It's about 6 to 9 miles for my American friends, and left a crater about 93 miles across, which is generally agreed among scientists that this asteroid was responsible for the extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs. A little precursor to where I'm going here. So, in 2006, NASA satellites, as part of the Gravity Research and Climate Experiment called GRACE, detected gravitational changes in an area of Antarctica, which indicated the presence of a huge object sitting in the middle of a 300-mile wide impact crater, which you can fit the entire state of Ohio into it. Here's an image. You can see the Wilkes Land Anomaly. It's kind of on the southeastern side of Australia. It is buried about under 800 meters of ice and is known as the Wilkes Land Gravity Anomaly, centered on north central Wilkes Land in Antarctica. This impact is much bigger than the one that killed the dinosaurs, and we know that about 215 million years ago in the Permian period of Earth's history, some 90% of marine life and nearly 75% of terrestrial life on Earth was wiped out. It is believed that this event may have even been caused by the suspected asteroid at the center of the Wilkes Land crater. There's even speculation that the impact of this asteroid was responsible for the breakup of the Gondwanan supercontinent, similar to Pangaea, and the separation of Australia from Antarctica. Why do I bring this up? First of all, it's just a fun fact for those listening. Hey, now you know something about Antarctica that a lot of people don't know. Gravity, there's an anomaly on this continent. It's kind of crazy, first of all. But second, we don't know anything about Antarctica. Let's be honest here. We know bits and pieces, but the vast majority, we know nothing about what is below this ice. I was also looking. The ice is extremely thick on Antarctica. Now, I know we know this, but we're talking like miles thick. That's a lot of ice. And that most of the time, because the ice is so thick and there's so much landmass to, I guess, observe and document, most of the time what they do is they take planes and they will just use like radar penetrating technology, kind of like LiDAR, but not LiDAR, it's radar.
Right. Yeah.
And they'll shoot it into the ice just to try to see like what landforms and stuff are underneath it, because it's just so thick they can't afford to continuously dig. Reason I bring this up is, what if this isn't a crater? What if it's something else?
It's an entrance.
Maybe
hollow Earth.
Maybe there's a lot of theories out there that, you know, Nazi Germany had all these fascinations with Antarctica for multiple reasons: resources, access to North and South America, things like that. But then you have the whole thing with, you know, after the war, they were fleeing. They stopped in Argentina. That's kind of where they got caught. Who knows where they were headed? But there's a whole theory out there. We talked about it in the Antarctica episode. I kind of went on and ranted about Operation High Jump and how there's this whole theory that the Nazis had a secret base in Antarctica. They had found maybe an entry point to below the Earth's surface. Maybe they have a whole civilization down there that we're not even remotely aware of. Because there's also a lot of theories about advanced civilizations living within the hollow Earth as well.
Right. So and it was funny though, as we were kind of talking about this, because it's like, you know, we've done an episode, you know, conspiracy theory, talking about like, you know, extraterrestrial life and lizard people and stuff like that. And it's like, what if, you know, and everyone take all this with a grain of salt, because it's like, yeah, we're talking about some fun little theories here. May not be what our core beliefs are, but we're just talking about some fun theories here. But it's like one of a few things popping in my mind. So it's like, what if, you know, hollow Earth, but you have the former colony of Atlantis. So the people of Atlantis are down there, because if it is a advanced colony, then you have to think they actually have some of the most advanced technology at that time. So it's like, there could be that. It could be a very primitive thing where, yes, you could have lizard people that are down there. And so it's like, if lizard people are coming up to the surface, then that explains why we have so many people on our planet, you know, at such a fast growing rate. And then as far as the other one, if there is a hollow Earth, it may not be people, but it may just be, again, just an ecosystem, you know, like a fully flourishing ecosystem that doesn't require us to go down there. You know, it doesn't require human people to be down there, but it's just running on its own.
One thing they have to think about, and this is, so I've been kind of talking about a lot of kooky stuff, and I guess what I'm about to say is also still in the realm of kooky, but something that I kind of genuinely think about, I'm not going to say I fully believe it, but I ponder from time to time, is these unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, used to be called UFOs. There's been scenarios off the coast of like San Diego, like the Tic Tac video, the big one that the New York Times published and kind of hit the mainstream, blew the cap off the whole, are UFOs real? Mainstream America found out, oh yeah, they are real. We don't know what they are. We're not saying they're aliens, but we don't know what they are per se. Are they ours? Are they someone else's? Who knows? But we do have videos of those things coming in and out of the water, the ocean, out in the middle of the open ocean. In the Pacific. I think there's probably some out of the Atlantic off the coast of South Carolina, if I remember, but for sure off the coast of San Diego.
Right.
And you have to wonder, like, yes, the ocean is a good place to hide because we don't know the vast majority of it. Like, the whole joke is we know more about space than we do our own ocean in terms of research we've done. Who's not to say that there's some entrance to whatever this hollow earth cave system is out in the middle of the Pacific somewhere, and where you have these things that we assume are from other planets are actually from here underground, and they just pop out through these cave systems in the ocean. And I'm gonna make a loose connection here. This is a very uneducated statement I'm making.
It's so very those educated. Of you, we did our research.
Those of you listening and watching, this is very uneducated, remotely educated. This is more like I don't know. Anyways, but you have the Ring of Fire, right? So the Ring of Fire is a chain of volcanoes due to, if I remember correctly, tectonic plates where they connect and the activity there out in the Pacific. Who's not to say that there's cave systems that form because of the way tectonic plates fold on each other? I'm sure there's probably a geologist out there that's going to say, hey, dummy, that's incorrect. And they might be right. But could be fun to entertain if you have two tectonic plates, right? I'll do an illustration for you. This is very high-end CGI here. Okay, so if you have two plates, right? If I understand this correctly, one goes over the other like this. And so they kind of pancake on top. But I know sometimes, what if they go like this or like this to kind of make, that's how mountains are made, right? It's when Earth pushes against each other, mountains are made, stuff like that. Who's not to say that sometimes when that happens, it's hollow within? Because the plates do this. I don't know. Maybe I sound like a big idiot right now.
No. But, no, so it makes sense. Like, I was just visualizing it. So it's like, it does make sense, but it just begs the question, like, so how... I'm actually curious about this because this just could be because I probably forgot this little known fact, but
this is the stuff they teach you in school that you're never going to need to know it one day. But right now, I wish I knew. I wish I remembered the very specific details of tectonic plate movement.
Okay, so this kind of doesn't give me the actual answer. So I was looking up to see how thick the Earth's crust is. And it says it's anywhere from 3 to more than 43 miles thick. And I'm like, and they said it depends on if it's in the ocean or if it's like a continental like crust. Which I guess, like you are separating the two, but because like that begs the question that it's like if depending on how thick the piece of crust is that's actually moving together under the ocean would determine probably how big that gaping pocket would be, because theoretically speaking, like if you want to get really technical about it and you have like those hollow areas inside the earth that are just cave systems, we theoretically do have a hollow earth technically. But if you're talking about like a full-fledged like ecosystem, like you got like this huge thing that's under the ground, like that's buried deep within the earth, then like it's still very possible because we don't know. We haven't even gotten past our own crust yet. So like we don't know. So
I'm going to fall back on an argument that I made with you. I think it was in the top 10 Doomsday Theory episode. And if I remember correctly, it was the sun exploding, going supernova, and just
Right.
devouring us all. And I remember I jokingly made the argument of, how the heck do we even know the life cycle of a star if we've never seen it? Because it's all theoretical. But a lot of
Right.
science is theoretical. You have a scientific method and a theory, and you prove it wrong, and you update quote unquote facts. If we haven't seen the core of the Earth, how do we know for certain that it's consistent with what mainstream science tells us it is? And I bring this up because we know we haven't dug that deep.
Right.
I know we don't have radar penetrating technology that goes that far deep. I feel like anyone within 100 square miles of that would be like instantly just wiped off the planet because of cancer or something.
They would develop a new cancer.
Something. I mean, like, to go that deep in the ground. You're going Super Saiyan with some radar technology there.
Right.
Where was I going with this argument? I had something valid going on.
If we haven't seen it, how do we know it doesn't exist?
Okay, yes. Whenever I hear it verbalized that way, it sounds so narrow-minded to me, and that's even the argument I'm trying to make right now. But because seeing doesn't have to mean believing. That's the whole argument with religion as a whole. But where was I going with this? I had a good argument, and I am drawing a blank on where I was headed with this. Oh, it is. We know the poles are shifting, so we know the magnetic poles are shifting. Mm-hmm. On our planet right now. And apparently it's happening with the sun too, because I remember we looked that up in a past episode.
Yeah.
And we are to, if I understand science correctly, which I know all of science apparently, our magnetic poles are, this sounds so stupid. I am educated, I promise. Got a 4-year degree. It's great.
I know. I didn't.
Shout out North Texas. You're the one that educated me. But if I'm to understand science correctly, it's basically the core and the molten lava, for lack of a better term, the molten rock that is basically liquefied because of the heat and the pressure. And it's like a constant rotation in the center of the Earth. And that's what's causing the magnetic pool, if I understand correctly. So what argument am I making here? At this point, I don't know. I think I just sound crazy and I'm rambling on about stuff that I know nothing about.
Let me see if I can kind of break this down. All right.
Save me here, Riley. Save me.
All right, I got you, Doc. So as far as the magnetic poles shifting, you're not wrong there. And it goes back to what I said earlier about everything internally throughout our planet is a magnetic field. Like we have the external magnetic fields that are actually outside of our planet that protect us from solar flares, and then you have your internal magnetic fields. So it's like it actually goes hand in hand. You know, one has to go outside, one has to stay inside. And so it begs, and this also too kind of goes hand in hand with kind of what I was thinking. So it's like the molten core is moving so fast, like it's going as, essentially it's moving along with the Earth. Like it doesn't just sit still. Now this also kind of begs the question too, if the molten core is so hot and it's going so fast and expanding so fast, how is it that we don't have more volcano eruptions? Like how is it that everything just stays there? Which again begs the question that when it comes to volcanoes on our planet's surface, let me actually, you know what, just for you, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
No, you're good. So 2 things. So I did look up some of the details real quick while you're more eloquently stating what I was trying to babble on about. So the outer core and the inner core, very interesting. Things that I knew at one point, forgot, now I remember. So the outer core, both the outer and the inner core are made of iron and nickel, supposedly. Word on the street is they're made of this material. On the outer core, it's liquid. So iron and nickel liquefied. The inner core, however, apparently, word on the street, it's solid. Still iron and nickel, but it's solid because despite the high temperatures, it remains solid due to the immense pressure of the rest of our lovely planet compacting down onto it. Now, man, I had a second point. I'm just so off my game tonight. I don't even have, this is the first time I'm drinking, this is carbonated water. I don't even have alcohol in front of me, and I'm forgetting things. This is not good.
I got a few photos here that I'm going to just like pull up and just kind of just see. We'll just start with this one. So,
yes, middle school science. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, all right, science lesson, science.
Please consider the following.
Yeah, right. So you have the inner core, and like you said, it is a metal. So you have the inner core, which is a solid metal, and then you have the outer core, which is a liquid metal. Then you have the lower mantle and upper mantle, and then the crust. Obviously, the lower mantle is so both mantles are actually just a solid silicate material. Um, it actually, and then when you actually get to the crust, it actually has more. I'll be honest with you, even going through science class, it didn't click with me that the inner core is actually a solid metal. But at the end of the day, how is that solid if you have molten lava that's just all around it? Like how is that solid? Like because the deeper you go, the hotter it gets. So how hot is the inner core then?
I think it's really freaking hot. Like I think it is the hottest of the bunch. But
Yeah.
the reasoning they're using here is that because of the immense pressure of everything outside of the inner core, that's causing it to become a solid. So
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I imagine it could be viewed as a liquid, but there's so much pressure that it is not liquefied.
Right. Now, take this now I got a couple others I'm just going to kind of go through. So obviously you have your upper mantle, your lower mantle, your core, your outer core, and your inner core. So obviously it kind of shows and it takes into consideration like how thick the crust actually is, that we could barely even scrape the surface of it when you think about it. I'm just going to kind of just go down through a few of these again: your inner core, outer core, mantle, upper mantle, and your crust.
I'm going to pause
Now,
you real quick. Are you sharing other things than the first screen you shared?
actually I am. I didn't know I did that.
Our
My bad.
classroom today is only seeing the first screen, but I think the reason for that is you can share a tab, a window, or your full screen. So you might just be sharing a tab.
Gotcha. Okay. Let me just do this then just to kind of make it.
Man, do you remember when classrooms had transparencies and projectors before
Dude, all
PowerPoints were a
day.
thing?
So yeah, just kind of go back again. It just goes into more detail, kind of shows, and I'm actually gonna go somewhere with this because something else just kind of clicked with me. This is just kind of like your fun, like this actually shows what it's like. So think about this: like you have all this around this, and then those are your mantles, and that's your crust, you know. And then this is obviously your most generic one that you get within your fifth grade science class. So going back to like this one, or just honestly any of them, what if when it comes to hollow earth theory, we're not thinking hollow earth in terms of this, but we're thinking hollow earth in terms of like, because these are solid silicate minerals, that there's actually a ground, like say like our crust, like the ground that we walk on, there's something similar to that exists within this portion of the earth, which is why, like, again, when you kind of go back to the whole at the beginning, let me just go back, let me find it real quick. When you look at this picture right here, and you're closer to the inner core than you are like the crust, so to speak, or like the outer core, I mean, like you're going to get that lava aspect that would kind of fall into this right here.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But I don't know what
Yeah.
my opinion means after my whole. This has been a rough episode for my brain, I feel. But that makes sense. What you just said there makes a lot of sense. And that it really could just be these grand cave systems that are relatively close to the crust, to where like it's not even getting close to the mantle potentially, but the temperature is still regulated because of
Right.
airflow and things like that. Because one thing I actually learned about throughout this past week, kind of prepping for this, as if it doesn't look like I prepped, but I prepped for this week. The Song Dune Cave in Vietnam. Are you aware of this? It's the world's largest cave that we're aware of. It's in Vietnam.
I think so.
I'm going to pull it up on the screen here so all the lovely people at home can see this as well. This just be a little bit of a presentation on what it looks like. Google has this thing, and it's going to show us some lovely photos here. So this is the entrance of the cave here. We scroll down a little bit. It shows us in Vietnam. Look at this image here. You can see how large this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a whole ecosystem within it.
See, that's what I picture like a hollow earth looking like. Like you can actually go inside of it, but it's actually got a full size ecosystem with whatever's down there. And there's more. there's like more ways to travel around it,
Yeah.
So let me ask you your question, like this question. So this kind of pertains to this. What's your opinion on people that do the caving thing?
Oh, was it spelunking? Is that what that is? They get on their stomach and they
Yes.
crawl. Yeah, dude, that stuff is
No.
crazy.
No. I've seen videos of people like so like it's like I can't remember what the YouTuber is, but he does like he goes over the stories of people who have died doing that, and I'm like,
Have you heard about the what do they call it? Is it the nutty cave or the nutty putter
yes,
cave? It's the
yes,
cave with the guy who he was spelunking down there.
the nutty, yeah, and he got stuck like this.
Yeah, he got stuck upside down, like, and he died because eventually just all the blood rushed to his head, and they couldn't pull him out. They tried. They had rescuers go try to get him.
Yep.
It's a terrifying story. Like, I hate it because it pops up on my TikTok feed occasionally of just the people's
Mm-hmm.
videos of them doing this, and I'm not really claustrophobic, but it makes me claustrophobic.
Yeah, like it's there have been a couple others too, but I'm like, dude, why would you put yourself in that position to do this? Like, how is this an adrenaline rush for you? Like, I could not. Like, I could not. And it sucks for that because like this, I think this was his first caving experience, if I'm not mistaken. Like this, I think that was his first time. He went with family. It was like a birthday thing, or it might have
It
been a
was like
birthday
him and
thing.
his brother, I think.
Yeah, and I think it was his first time going, and I could be wrong, but it's like he he went down and he thought it was going to lead somewhere, but I'm like, dude, no. Like, and like when I heard that, and like they said that he was already dead before they could even do anything to help him. And like, how would you take that news if you did that and you have people telling you like, hey, like we're going to try to make you as comfortable as possible, but there's nothing we can do to help you.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, first of all, if that is a common go-to sport for certain individuals, I feel like there's already something different with the way their brain is wired to be comfortable in a situation like that.
Right.
And I have to imagine similar to I I classify some of these folks the same way that I would classify free solo climbers. Are you aware of these people? People
Mm-hmm.
that climb mountains without any safety protection whatsoever.
Couldn't do it.
They're just a different breed of human, dude. Like, and they're able to just grapple or not even have the ability to begin to grapple the fact of each one could be your last. Have you ever seen the Free Solo documentary?
Uh-uh.
So what's the guy's name? It is Alex Honnold. It's the guy that he's probably the most famous free soloer out there. He'll climb these giant rock faces without any safety equipment whatsoever. Like, here, I'll pop
Yeah.
them up on the screen real quick because it's mind-boggling. Like, no, thank you. Like this right here, he climbed this rock face without any safety equipment. You can see, like, here's an image here of him just like dangling for fun. This is what he
Like,
does
here's the
for
thing.
fun.
A lot of people, okay, this is not a knock against people who are in the gym, bodybuilding, anything like that. Like, you're good at what you do it, hopefully you do it the right way and not, taking shortcuts. Your strength that you develop in the gym as a bodybuilder is nothing compared to what people like this can do. Like, y'all cannot do anything close to this. I can't even do anything close to this. I'm not even going to say I can. Y'all cannot. So it's like, I've seen videos about people who, like, the big muscle guys are like, yeah, I'm so strong. I'm like, okay, but what does that muscle do for you, though? What does all that muscle? This man is enjoying his best life. He's having a great time right now, and he might be small compared to half those bodybuilders in the world, but I guarantee he is stronger than half of those bodybuilders in the world.
Man, Riley's out here preaching a sermon.
I'm just saying, man,
Testify.
because these people, like you said, they are a different breed. Like, their grip strength, like, you realize how strong your grip has to be, like, to make it up that, and then even be like like you're dangling and you're just holding on for dear life, like that right there. Like, his grip strength is next to like it's impeccable for what he's
Look,
able to do.
look how high up this is. And just to know, you got to go up or go down because there's no rescue. Like, this is
Yeah.
it. you're climbing this thing. It's similar to like, have you ever watched the videos of the dudes that climb skyscrapers? Like they free
Yeah.
climb skyscrapers.
Yeah.
That stuff's crazy too. I'm just like, and they're all over TikTok. They'll upload videos to TikTok all day. They'll live stream the whole thing.
Yep.
And they do it for like, I don't know, social awareness causes and protests and things like that. But I'm just like, I'll watch that. I'll be laying in bed at night on TikTok. I'll watch it. And then my like palms start to get a little sweaty. And I'm just like, why am I nervous? I know this is a video. And I know if the dude falls right now, the video probably wouldn't be that easy to find. So it's just, I don't know. These are a different breed of humans.
To get back on the top, I mean, I don't know how we got on, mountain climbers. I know obviously we went to the spelunking thing because, what if there are like open caves? Like what if like the entrances to get to those areas exist within those areas, but you realistically never know what you're going to find, going down there. And, but just to kind of like, I guess, tie everything back together, I do think that there is ecosystems that we can't even, that we probably don't even think of, like that exists elsewhere in the world, because you have to think when it comes to like just the surface of the world, we haven't even explored, I think, what was it, like 10% of the earth, the surface of the earth, like as far as the oceans and stuff.
Yeah,
so
something like that.
Yeah. So there's probably other islands out there that exist that have different ecosystems than what we would know based on where we're at and where other people are at. And so to me, again, it begs the question that it's like, we're not just, I don't believe that we're just a ball that has just hot materials within the center of the earth, like, or at least like within the earth. Like there's got to be other things that are there, because that, like, explain, like, again, like a lot of the earthquakes, a lot of the different things that happen. Like, I feel like there's just something, like there's something that's under our crust, and I honestly hope that one day they'll be able to actually drill down far enough so that we can actually see, like, okay, is there actually something like within our Earth, like depending on where they're drilling at, or is it just like all magma and inner cores,
So I just looked this up real quickly. The amount of land that we've explored, documented, tracked, researched. So if we're talking just land surface, so the crust, not counting the oceans, just crust, we've searched and found about 85 to 90% of it. So there still is about 10% margin of error out there of things that we have yet to find. But that's just like the land you and I are on right now. The oceans, only around 5%. We've only researched, tracked, documented about 5% of it. Now, the subsurface, just underneath the crust, so everything within the crust there, we've only searched less than 0.1% of it. And then when you want to get to the mantle and core, going back to my estranged rant earlier, we've researched 0% of it because we can't get there. We're not there yet. So we only research it through what is called indirectly, through geophysical methods. So basically, scientific method, we have things we've proven true and false, and we're making educated guesses and assumptions based on
all
that.
I'm saying is it blows my mind how our scientists are like, yeah, let's go discover other planets rather than trying to figure out everything about our own current planet right now.
Do you ever wonder why that is?
Curiosity. But then again, the same thing could be said for, why not be curious about what's within our planet? Like, because again, like you said, like we only know based on what was in our, because here's the thing, who wrote the science books that we got taught by in high school that talked about the earth being just this, what it is? If we had never been able to get down there, how do we know what's actually down there?
It's a great question. That's a great question.
That is definitely a great question. I don't know. I still think there's something down there, though. There's got to be.
There's got to be something. Well, I feel like we've kind of made full circle on whatever the heck this conversation was about Hollow Earth. I think, at least from my perspective, I went into it, I was like, yeah, we'll talk about Hollow Earth. And then there was a moment halfway through the overall episode where I'm sitting here like, man, I sound like a dummy, but I'm okay with that. That's why I put on the sunglasses, baby. I'm not a super scientist. I don't even know how to end this episode at this point. Riley, I always give you the last words of inspiration, of imparting some wisdom on those that are listening. But before I let you do that, if you made it to this part of the episode, first of all, thank you. We appreciate you. Keep rocking out with us. If you haven't done so yet, give us a like, leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite part was. Do you think the earth is hollow? If so, what's your theory on it? One other thing, just going to throw this out there. If you watch us on Rumble or listen on Spotify, go say hi on YouTube. Or if we're on YouTube and you don't listen on Rumble or Spotify, go say hi on those platforms too. You don't have to, but it helps the algorithm do algorithmic things, and we appreciate you. And as always, check us out at unscriptedcompany.com. You can find all the fun links there. We got a newsletter. We'll have another issue coming out probably around the same time you're listening to this episode. So go check us out there. But to bring it full circle, to take us home, Riley, what you got for us?
All right, let's see what I got. Also, just a couple of things. Don't forget about our merch. We do have merch. Again, even if you're not able to support it in that way, we do appreciate the support in other ways, whether it be sharing our content, liking it. Again, as my co-host said, just putting the content out there for everyone. We appreciate all the support we've gotten so far. So it just goes without saying that, thank you guys. We also have an official Twitter page now. So please go give that a follow. It is Unscripted Company. You can also add us at Unscripted Pod X. So please go check that out. We're going to try to do a tweet of the week every week. So just please, follow that as well. Words of encouragement or just, parting words of wisdom. Life really do be lifing. But just keep on keeping on, and just continue just to do you. Like I said, times are tough right now. A lot of things are unknown right now. But just, keep your friends close, keep your circle close, and just make sure that you have people around you. And yeah, let's just all have a great week. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot this week. It's not like your typical words of wisdom. If you believe in Hollow Earth, then you're one of the many few. And that's an oxymoron all on its own. So we'll see you guys in the next one.